Okay, what's up, everybody? This is Chris, aka Fake Phoenix Prince. I got a video for you guys to react to. Let me close out this Daily Mail alert. Yes, I read the Daily Mail. I like reading all other sources, but yeah, this is I want to go over in this show, um, because today is a one of the anniversaries of Steven Gerrard Slip, and I wanna analyze, something that bothers me about the British media and how they choose their favorites. Steven Gerrard is a media fan favorite, as you may or may not know. To me, in my opinion, I like watching the English footballers now because I think they're actually better than their predecessors. The reason why they're doing better now is because they finally gotten rid of the old guard, the overrated old guard with Steven Gerrard and Wayne Rooney and those guys, and that's why I believe they've been able to go further in tournaments and actually further in life in general because they've moved on from guys like that who really are just taking up space. I'm not saying they weren't great players, but you know, England had a thing where they just try to get the most well-known players to play together instead of picking the best team players for them to win tournaments or games. You know what I mean? Instead of building around players with marginal talent. But here, I want to go over Steven Gerrard's slip, and I just want you to pay attention to how they kind of frame it, what happened that day. And this is where I'm gonna probably fast forward a little bit. So right here, look how they frame it for you real quick. Hold on.
Left, one at a time.
Whenever I
Use,
saw
fair
about
use.
that, I say you literally couldn't write it. Steven Gerrard, living the dream as the captain of the club, world class footballer.
And it wasn't so much the
Cap. Not saying Steven Gerrard was never a world class footballer, but at that time, what people forget, during that time in 2014, Steven Gerrard was not. He was still a solid midfielder, but he was far from his best, which was probably around the mid 2000s, around 2005, 2007, kind of almost around the same time that Ronaldinho was at his apex. During this time in 2014, Steven Gerrard was at that time kind of a how do I put it? He was a holding midfielder ish, kind of. But if you saw Liverpool play, a lot of the goals, Liverpool would let in a lot of goals through open play because they did not have a proper holding midfielder, or at least a proper holding midfielder to cover Gerrard's poor positional play. And only real, you know, only people that actually watch knows what I'm talking about. Gerrard actually cost his teams a lot of goals with his positional play, but that's not really his fault because that team was just based on attack. It was an attacking type of football team, where they try to put Sturridge and Suarez and Sterling in the best position to score many goals because they were going to be required to score that many goals, um, um, to stay in competition to win the title that specific year in the 2013-2014 Premier League year. So when they're saying world class football, not at that time, no, he was not world class at that time. Just putting you on game. And
mistake.
and just to let you know, Jamie Carragher, that's one of Steven Gerrard's best friends, so don't expect any objectivity coming from him.
Liverpool losing, it was who it happened to. You know, your great mates, the leader, the legend of the club for so long.
That is true. So let me rewind this real quick. So right here, obviously in this infamous play, Mamadou Sakho passes the ball back to Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard slips, and Dembaba goes through on open goal, and he makes it 1-0.
Oh, Gerrard has slipped, and Dembaba is through here for Chelsea. It's Bar. He scores in front of the Kop.
Now, in this next part of the video, I want you to hear because you'll probably have heard a lot of people making fun of Gerrard for slipping, whether that was right or not, you're gonna see a lot of people they're making fun of him for slipping, essentially slipping, especially literally a match prior when they beat Man City. He literally said this does not fucking slip now, and ironically, he slips and basically makes the title race interesting again. But watch how the English people come to Gerrard's defense on here. Watch this.
The slip came from Sacco passes him the ball when he doesn't need to pass him the ball, but Stephen was such a pivotal figure that they wanted to give him the ball at every opportunity.
You heard how McMahon said that? He said he blamed the goal on Sacco for passing him the ball. And people are talking about, people want to get on me like, okay, why are you always going at the English for their bias? Like this, are you serious? If Gerrard passed Mamadou Sakho the ball and Sakho was in the middle and he slipped and Demba goes through, Sakho would probably not be able to walk the streets of Liverpool ever again. But because it's Gerrard, they blamed he's blaming that on a pass. Like, this is the bullshit that I have to see, in high school, and I gotta be like, are you serious? But anyway,
catastrophe for the Liverpool skipper, and Chelsea are back in the title race here.
For all the players, for it to happen to the one trophy he hadn't won, and there he was on the cusp of doing it. It was just devastating for Liverpool fans.
A gift of the cruelest type. That is horrible for Steven Gerrard. Your heart weeps for him.
Well, obviously that slip can happen to anybody. Anybody can make a mistake, but when Gerrard was at his best, he was very athletic with his play. He was very direct. His shooting technique was second to none, right? But however, his technical ability has came into question a couple of times. It has. I know people don't want to say that, but his technical ability has come into question a couple of times, and he could get got. And that position where he was at is actually not a position that he has been used to in his career. Really. Usually he's always had a partner. He didn't really have a partner to work with during that title run. A lot of the times he was that lone holding player. A lot of the times during that time. So that's really what happened there. It's an unfortunate slip, obviously, but you see here how they did everything they could to act like it wasn't his fault, even though it was his fault.
And I remember coming out of Anfield and walking down Anfield Road, and I remember being in what can only be described as a bit of a daze, and I remember people were coming up to me and speaking to me, but I couldn't comprehend it.
Manchester City are the out-and-out favourites now. Liverpool still in the mix.
The door is open at Selhurst Park. Can they now grab the initiative in this extraordinary...
Okay, and here's the problem that I have with this also. That wasn't the ending of Liverpool's title chances. They still had a game versus Crystal Palace, right? And they were up 3-0 up until the 80th minute, and they choked a 3-0 lead in 10-0 in 10 minutes. That was what really ended their reign. Ended them holding their own destiny in their own hands. That's what ended it. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. I just wanted to go over that. Just to give you more evidence, more proof of. I don't know if I'm gonna make this a series, but I don't think people understand how terrible the British media can be. and how protective they are of their certain players. Like Gerrard, like Beckham, even though I like Beckham, like Rooney, and many others. Um, they were very protective of Jack Wilshere at one point. They thought he was the second coming of Jesus Christ, but that didn't happen. But like I said, I like this new batch of English players. I love these guys because it's more. I like Southgate has made it where it's not they're not picking all the youngsters from Manchester United or all the youngsters from Liverpool or all the youngsters from Arsenal. He's not doing that. He's picking the best players, and it's also he's got a couple of players from Man City. He's got a couple of players from West Ham, one player from Man U, one player from Arsenal. It's very spread. Tottenham, Harry Kane. He has it very spread out. He's picking the best players for what he needs. People were kind of, at one point last year for Euros, they were questioning the selection of Declan Rice, and the kid from Leeds United. I forgot his name, but they were solid. They were solid. They were solid. They weren't no superstar center midfielders that the media had to sell to you, like Gerrard and Lampard trying to make that partnership work which it didn't. You know what I'm saying? It was just two solid midfielders that they needed, and those guys, their positional play was way better than Gerrard's ever was. Was actually technically better than what Lampard, but Lampard, his role was different. His role was kind of he's like a relentless like kind of player going into the box trying to score type of dude. You know what I mean? But you know that that's why the new batch of English players are refreshing to see. I still, it still leaves a bitter taste in my mouth because I don't like how the British media treats certain players. You know what I mean? They'll shit on one player just to save another, and the same thing happens here in the USA. But a lot of the stuff you know, when people say, where do you get that energy from? I don't like using that word. Where do you get that mindset from in terms of debating or doing certain stuff? It's just watching the British media doing bullshit. And I used to be like, nah, this is bullshit. They're just trying to scapegoat this person just so they can let this person off the hook. That's what that's life, and the British media is just they get on my nerves for that. They like to sell that thing about Gerrard, about him being the best midfielder, one of the best Premier League midfielders ever. I disagree. There's a lot of midfielders I would take over him. I just don't like when it's just like people will make a Premier League all-time list and then they'll have to like do a whole switch. They'll do all types of weird formations just so they can put Lampard in, just so they can put Gerrard in, or one of their favorites, Rooney, just to put them in there. And I'm like, just pick the best 11, right? One day I'm gonna do. You know what? This might be my next video of. I'm gonna show you an Instagram post of somebody's best 11, because I think there's a lot of midfielders way better than Gerrard, and people might disagree. I think Yaya Toure was better than Gerrard. I would take Yaya Toure over Gerrard. There's a lot of midfield, like, even the ones from today. Kevin De Bruyne is a better player than Gerrard. I don't know why people are afraid to say that. Like, if you watch De Bruyne play, it's not even, to me, I'm taking De Bruyne. Better technical, first of all, better technical player, better passer, okay, better outside shooter. All right, maybe Gerrard, but better crosser, better playmaker, better vision, better positional play, better IQ, better everything. And De Bruyne's not that isn't De Bruyne, they're around the same height, 6 feet tall, 5'11". I mean, De Bruyne's the complete package. Gerrard lacked in a lot of things, But the one thing he didn't lack in was popularity. That's what helped his case. And that Champions League, the one that AC Milan choked in '05, that helps his case a lot. But there's I'm just saying, I'll take Paul Scholes, I'll take Lampard, I'll take all types. There's a lot of midfielders I would just take over him. I'm not saying he's not that good. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's not a legend, but in terms of when people talking make it their best Premier League all time, and they'll choose, like, it'll be like somebody will make a list, right? And it'll be like the typical Manchester United fan making their list, which it'll be like Roy Keane and Paul Scholes in the middle of the midfield, and they'll make their list, right? And or they'll say Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira, or they'll say Paul Scholes and Patrick Vieira, or something like that. Which those are understandable names to put if you're picking two center midfielders. Like, what about Gerrard? What about Rooney? And it's just like every time I hear those names, it's just like, English fans can get lost in their own sauce. I don't know which fan base is worse when it comes to overrating their players. It's the American media or the British media. It's tomato. You know what I'm saying? At least the English have had some impressive players that have come through. I mean, the most impressive American player I've seen is a goalkeeper. And it depresses me sometimes. It just depresses me sometimes. So that's just a little bit of proof. I think my next vid, I'm gonna show you the Premier League 11, and I'll probably I'll name you my all time 11, who I would choose as my all time 11, and who's the best manager ever. So, all right, see you in the next time. Peace.